Hi, Nigel here with the Drive Wire. This is the 2021 VW Atlas. It's an SEL Premium R Line. Actually, it's not really a 2021, it's a 2021.5 because Volkswagen made some updates mid-cycle and it has a brand new MIB3 entertainment system inside the car, but more on that later. This one, because it's an R model, comes with these pretty snazzy 21-inch rims with all-season tires, but it does have an 8-inch ground clearance, but don't get me wrong, it's definitely not a Subaru Outback when it comes to off-road prowess. Now, at the front, Volkswagen has the updated grille. It gives it a little bit more of an aggressive look, together with these new LEDs on this R model limited SEL. These are actually adaptive headlights, which is pretty cool. And then, because it's an R model, it has this black, sort of glossy plastic front fascia sort of spoiler piece, and these vents, or fake vents, at the side. I think it looks a lot more aggressive than the old model, and it looks pretty good. But looks aren't typically what you buy this car for. It is absolutely enormous inside. It's pretty big. If you don't want one this big, you can get the Crosssport, which is slightly smaller in the back. Obviously doesn't offer you 3-row. This is a 3-row. This particular model has the optional captain's chairs, which are kind of useful. I like the way they look rather than a rear bench. All right, so in the back you get plenty of room and no spare wheel, which is pretty standard these days. Now, if you leave the 3rd row up, you get about 22 cubic feet here. If you put these down, which is pretty straightforward, just pull this little lever here and just throw them all the way down. You get about 45, 46 cubic feet of space. Then if you put them all down, you get about 96 cubic feet of space. So it's pretty good, a lot of space. Simply grab this handle and pull them back up again. Access to the back is pretty straightforward. Move this seat forward, push that, and hop right in. So once you're in the back, simply pull this back, and I have this seat all the way forward. So obviously tons of room. But if you put this seat back, all the way back, there's just about enough room to cope with. You got rear AC vents here, got some cup holders, etc. It's not too bad, and your knees aren't too far in the air, and actually decent amount of headroom too. They've sculpted that out a little bit so you have plenty of headroom in the back. Not too bad. I could travel a little bit in here and be not too badly uncomfortable. And then when you don't want these up, you can just stow them down so they're out of the way. So getting out should be a pretty simple affair. Hop out. In the 2nd row, they're not too bad at all. Just close the door, plenty of room, plenty of leg room, even with the seat all the way back. It's quite a nice place to be. And then rear seat passengers get controls for the seats. They've got heated seats, controller AC, etc. You got 2 USBs, the faster kind, a few cubbies. What I don't see anywhere, oh yeah, there are a couple of cup holders in the door, so not bad. Plenty of headroom too. Pretty decently comfortable seats, if a little hard. Typically Germanic hard seats, but these are pretty nice. You got a little armrest here to rest your arm on. Not too bad. Done a pretty good job. Really lots of space in this car. I like it. And this one has the little blinds here in case it gets too hot, which it is right now. It's 100 degrees outside, but not too bad. Under the hood, you may well be familiar with this engine. It is a VR6, narrow-angled V6 engine, 2.8 liters. It used to live in the old VW Corrado and the Golf that was the hotter version of the GTI back in the day. Now, I believe this is the only application, this is the only vehicle, the Atlas, where this is currently used. I don't think they use it in Europe at all. It used to be in the US only Passat GT. So anyway, here it is. It's got 276 horsepower, 266 foot-pounds of torque, driven through a conventional 8-speed automatic transmission. It gets along decently nicely, but this vehicle does weigh like 4,500 pounds, so it's not exactly a hot rod. Okay, let's talk about the interior from the front seat. As I said, these seats are pretty supportive, leather covered, Got some good side bolstering here. A little hard for me. The ID4 seats were absolutely fantastic, so I wish they'd sort of put those in these, but can't really complain. There's a newly designed steering wheel. It looks kind of nice. It's a little smaller than the old one. The main changes are technology based, and it's this MIB 3 system here, infotainment system, etc., that it has. It's a big upgrade from the old system. It was introduced halfway through the year in this particular Atlas. The Cross Sport Atlas already had this system at the beginning of the year, and it's really good. It already was a pretty good system anyway. One of the key features is you can now get wireless CarPlay and Android Auto, which is phenomenal. So as part of this upgrade, you get a number of cool features. It's still, as you approach the screen, adds certain things. You'll notice down here on the right hand side here is a little hand gesture. So that means that you can swipe across and look at the additional menus that are available, if there's a menu available on the right or the left. Let's go into the radio real quick. Pretty fast too. You'll notice that if you swipe with your hand, you can add or look at all the different presets for your radio. You can now mix and match these because you've got different sources, so Sirius XM, AM and FM. You can now mix and match and add different ones depending on what you want to save in here. So you have up to 36 different presets, and now you can just move your hand across using gestures. Pretty cool. Or touch the screen itself. And then as you approach the screen, it shows you your station list, your presets, your tuning, and various different settings. And then another cool part is, very much like a iPhone, you can swipe down from the top and you can see various different features. Voice guidance, you can set your maps, you can move your instrument cluster and panel lighting, change the audio, sound, etc. Really cool. Swipe back up. It's fast, it's intuitive, it's super easy to use, and I really like it. So if you go back to the main menu, you've got, setting up your media, your phone, your navigation, maps, etc. Whatever you need to do. You can also go into vehicle and you can do the same swipe across, so you don't really need to touch the screen while you're driving. Down below, the new infotainment of some very easy to use HVAC controls with physical buttons, no problem there. And then down here you've got your wireless charger. I like this one. It actually works with my case. I have to take the case off to make it work. Some cars I've had a problem with that. You've got 12 volt power down here, if you can see that, then 2 USBs. Moving up into the center console, you have electronic parking brake, park assist features right here, engine stop start, and then different modes, which I mentioned earlier. You can go into various different modes. So when you click on this mode button, you see the various modes here. So you've got sport, eco, normal, and then custom. And then you can simply adjust here and put your steering, drivetrain, ACC, etc. into whichever mode you prefer, normal or sport. I've had it in sport. The steering doesn't feel a lot different when you do move it from normal to sport. Can't really tell the difference, but it definitely feels a little tighter in terms of suspension. And then moving back down here, you can toggle here and you can go into snow mode. You get some cool graphics of some snow. Depending on which one of these you select depends on how you can change the drivetrain and the steering and all the other options on the vehicle. So I'm just going to move that back to regular road use. We haven't taken it off road, so I haven't really had to go into any of that kind of stuff. Standard 2 cup holders are pretty decent, a good size. There's also 2 in the door pocket. And then here in the center, you get a pretty decent amount of storage, and there's 1 additional USB-C right down there at the bottom. But to be honest, with the wireless charger, if you got the right phone, you don't need it. Now that both CarPlay and Android Auto are available with a wireless connection, there's no need to plug anything in really. All right, let's take it for a drive. And the VR6 exhaust noise isn't too bad. Makes pretty good noise, actually. Is the best part of the whole setup. Steering feels pretty good. Obviously it is the 4Motion all-wheel drive system, so it's not always on. Basically a front driver until it needs some assistance. But mash it from stop. Engine feels good, it doesn't sound strained. It's probably around a 7.8 second to 60 car. Again, this is a vehicle for a family, not to be raced, but I can't help myself. Actually, it's pretty poised at speed in the turns. Now, even though I'm in the most sporty mode, suspension does float just a little bit, although it is very smooth over most pavements. But occasionally, if you hit like a pothole or something in the road, an uneven section of road, the ride gets a little flinty. But it gets up to speed pretty decently. Obviously, 4,500 pounds is quite a lot to move around. So, and these all seasons, they feel pretty grippy. So you've just got to remember that you're not in the Corvette I drove last week. But I can't complain about the handling overall. You can hustle this along. Yeah, I mean, does it need more power? Yeah, of course it does. Now, as I said, this is the top of the line SEL Premium R Line. So out the door price, including tax. So out the door price, including destination, is $52,000. Now, there's some alternatives that you could buy for that are quicker than this. The Ford Explorer, for example. Now, even in sport mode, if you're at 4,000 RPM, it doesn't seem to want to kick down into a lower gear. It says, no, this is enough for me. I'm fine where I'm at. So, unless I inadvertently change the mode. Now, I'm still in sport mode. Imagine if you have, 2 adults, 2 in the captain's chairs at the back, and maybe 2 kids. That's 6 people altogether in the car, plus a bunch of luggage. Acceleration and performance will be somewhat blunted. The brakes are good too. They feel solid. The pedal feel is nice. They stop the car, which is key. Now, VW are planning on a sporty version of the Cross Sport of this car. So the Atlas Cross Sport is a little smaller. It's only got 2 rows, a little less room in the back, a little less cargo space. But the rumors are that it's going to have a turbocharged 4 with 300 horsepower. And I'm assuming the equivalent number of torque as well, which will make it an interesting ride, because this one does suffer a little bit from only having 266 foot-pounds of torque to move it along. And if that's the case, then I would imagine if the Atlas stays on, that turbocharged 4 with 300 horsepower would find its way into the top of the line Atlas, and then the 2.0 turbo smaller one, the one with less horsepower, would be in the base model. That would make sense. I'm sure they want to get rid of this pretty thirsty VR6. It's not exactly an economical engine. I'm averaging somewhere around 14 miles to the gallon, so you got to think about that. Build quality is pretty good. I think these are made in Tennessee. It's pretty solid, as Volkswagens are. A lot of soft feel plastics in the car. All right, we're going to turn around here, take it back the other way. Yeah, it sounds pretty good. I like the new steering wheel too. They redesigned the steering wheel, and it's nice. It's smaller than the old one, and it feels pretty good in your hands. I like it. A little bit of cut off at the bottom, like everyone's doing these days, because it's an R model. It's got to have a squared off wheel at the bottom there, because it's got R on the side. To be honest, if I wanted a lot of space, this is definitely a good option. Obviously, there's a bunch of other big SUVs out there. Kia, Hyundai, they got the Explorer. There's even bigger ones if you want. So there's a lot of choice. This is not bad though. Uh-oh, got the Border Patrol up ahead. Don't want to get arrested for being too British here. So in conclusion, there's nothing fundamentally wrong with this car. There's nothing fundamentally telling me that I wouldn't buy one. But there is a lot of choice, and I might not put this on my list. This is definitely something that I would have to basically drive everything else before I made a decision. It's pretty good. It isn't great. Well, what do we think? Not bad at all. I think it's a pretty decent car. One complaint, German seats are always too hard. Now, I drove the ID4 a few weeks ago, and it has brand new design seats that are really nice. They're comfortable, they're softer than these, they're softer than any German seats I've ever been in. This is not a Golf GTI, this is not a Golf R. It needs a little bit more comfort in the seat department, but other than that, I actually really like it. I think it's a pretty good car. Doesn't have very good fuel economy, it's not that quick, but it is generally nice to just drive and waft around and enjoy yourself. So, once again, thanks for watching. Please do not forget to subscribe, like, make a comment, let me know what you think. If anyone's got one of these, let me know if you think my review is correct or not, and we will see you next time.